Have you ever felt like you're your own biggest mystery? We spend so much time trying to figure out the world around us, but a lot of the time, we're the most confusing person we know. So today, we're going to dive deep into the psychology of why we do the things we do, and maybe challenge some of the stories we've been telling ourselves about who we really are. I mean, be honest. Have you ever caught yourself using these exact words? You miss a deadline, and right away your brain goes, "Oh, I'm so lazy." Or you say the wrong thing at a party and you just cringe, thinking, why am I so awkward? But what if those labels, the ones we slap on ourselves so easily, aren't the real story at all? Well, let's get into it. Psychology actually gives us a much deeper and honestly a more compassionate way to look at this stuff. What we call laziness could really be motivational exhaustion. And that awkwardness, that might just be low social cognition, which is just a fancy way of saying you have a harder time reading social cues. This is all about decoding what our minds are really trying to tell us. Okay, first up, let's take a look at our internal world. That inner operating system that's running the show, telling us how to feel and act, especially when things get stressful. Now, this is a really important distinction here. Burnout is not laziness. Laziness is when you just don't care. Burnout is the complete opposite. It's what happens when you care too much, for too long, under way too much pressure. You absolutely still want to hit your goals, but your brain has basically just run out of gas. So, how do you know if this is you? Well, the signs are pretty clear. The simplest tasks feel like climbing a mountain. You can sleep for 10 hours and still wake up exhausted, because this isn't about being physically tired. It's your entire nervous system being fried. And that guilt? That's the real tell. Lazy people don't feel guilty for resting. People who are burnt out feel it constantly. Wow, this quote is a real gut punch for anyone who's ever been a people pleaser, right? It just perfectly captures that strange paradox of helping someone, not because you want to, but because you're afraid of what will happen if you don't. And it shows you the hidden price you pay for that. So here's the bottom line. When you say yes, but your entire body is screaming no, that's not kindness. It's really a survival tactic. It's driven by this deep-seated fear of being rejected or disliked. But every time you sacrifice your own energy like that, it just builds up as resentment, and it quietly starts to poison the very relationships you were trying so hard to protect. All right, let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about our inner world, so now let's look at how we deal with the outer world, our interactions with other people. And this is where you can really see the line between making a genuine connection and trying to subtly control someone. The rarest form of intelligence might not be a super high IQ. It could be a mind that just gets people. Socially intelligent people have this kind of quiet power. They notice those tiny shifts in someone's mood before it becomes a big deal. They can disagree with you without making you an enemy, and they totally get that sometimes the smartest thing you can possibly do is just stay quiet. But, and this is a big but, that same social awareness can be used in some really dark ways. Abuse isn't always shouting and screaming. A lot of the time, it's hidden in plain sight. It's that harmless joke that's actually designed to chip away at your confidence. It's gaslighting, making you literally question your own memory. These are all subtle tactics designed to control you emotionally, often without a single voice ever being raised. This leads us right into our next topic, intelligence itself. We tend to think of IQ as the simple ladder, from low to high. But the reality is, every single level of cognitive ability comes with its own set of unique and often invisible struggles. And this table just lays it out so clearly. On one side, if you have a high IQ, you might get stuck in analysis paralysis, where you think so much you can't even make a simple decision. You might feel everything really deeply, almost absorbing other people's pain. On the other side, a lower IQ can make it tough to plan for the future or to connect cause and effect, which can make life feel really random and confusing. Neither one is easy. They're just different kinds of hard. So, after digging into our internal wiring and our social dynamics, what now? How do we actually change things? Well, this final section is all about that. It's about rewriting those unwritten rules you live by to build a real foundation of self-respect. This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? We all want to be respected, but demanding it? It just never, ever works. Psychology shows us that earning respect has very little to do with what you say. It's all about the boundaries you calmly and consistently hold. Okay, here are the practical take-home steps. First, stop over-explaining your no. Giving a bunch of reasons just invites a debate. A simple, that's not going to work for me, is all you need. Next, trade emotion for calm. A firm, quiet response is way more powerful. Then, state your boundary one time and that's it. Don't repeat it. And finally, if someone keeps crossing that line, you just reduce their access to you. That action speaks way louder than any argument ever will. And here's a little psychological concept that can honestly set you free. It's called the spotlight effect. We walk around thinking there's a giant spotlight on us and that everyone is noticing every single mistake we make. But the truth is, they're not. They're busy being the main character in their own movie, just like you are. Realizing this gives you so much freedom to try things, to mess up, and to not live in fear of what other people think. Now, let's finish with some hard truths. These might sting a little, but they are absolutely essential if you want to grow. Your comfort zone? It's a trap. All the good stuff happens just outside of it. And maybe the biggest one of all, no one is coming to save you. It's so easy to blame the world, but taking radical responsibility for your own life, that is the only way to actually be in control. So, I'll leave you with this. Your life is a story, and you are the one holding the pen. You've been operating on a bunch of unwritten rules, and a lot of them you probably didn't even choose. So after everything we've talked about today, from burnout to boundaries, what's the one rule you're finally ready to rewrite? What are you going to change first?